Inihahandog ng Philippine Air Force at ng himpilang ito ang programang gagabay tungo sa kapayapaan ng bawat mamamaya at pag-unlad ng buong pamayanan. Usapang Pangkapayapaan, Usapang Pangkaunlaran.
Mayong adlaw sa tunta ng mga higala, kami po yung Philippine Air Force, your air warrior, skylifters in the Visayas. At muli pong sumasayang papawid ang aming palatuntunang Usapang Pangkapayapaan, Usapang Pangkaunlaran Cebu. Kauban ang kusog na sigla sa tulong ka-partner namon na radio station diri sa Cebu City. Daghang kay salamat kay Ma'am Annabel Lagrosas of DYMR 576 kHz, Radyo Pilipinas, kay Sir Jonix Napalyakan of DYLA 909 kHz, kay Sir Jem Reviosa ng SMNI DYAR 765 Sunshine Radio Cebu, kay Ma'am Payetrinyan and Ma'am Hazel Gloria of PIA 7 sa pagtabang sa itong programa Karong Adlaw. Ako po yung host, First Lieutenant Edward B. Baguio, Philippine Air Force, at kasamang aking mga co-host na sina Staff Sergeant Ann Francis M. Tompong, Philippine Air Force, and AW2C Yasmin Saladar, Philippine Air Force. Partners?
Muli, isang mapagpalang araw para sa ating lahat, lalo na sa ating mga libu-libong tagapakinig at taga-subaybay sa programang ito. Ang Usapang Pangkapayapaan, Usapang Pangkaunlaran Cebu. Tayo din po ay napapanood sa ating social media platform, sa Facebook page ng 1000 BGBliap, 1000 PAF, CMOAMC at ng APAP Cebu. Ang programa pong ito ay para po sa ating pagnanais na maihatid ang mga impormasyon na may kinalaman sa pagsulong ng kapayapaan at kaunlaran sa ating bansang Pilipinas.
Thank you, partner. And let us also welcome our other participants from Air Mobility Command, TOOPIP Tactical Helicopter Wing, from 250th Presidential Airlift Wing, 220th Airlift Wing, from 5 OPIP Search and Rescue Group, 560th Airbase Group, and PAP Simog. Daghang kaayong salamat for tuning in with us and for supporting our program.
Mga kasama, kinagagalak po natin makasama ang ating resource person ngayong araw, ang Regional Director ng Department of Justice, Parole and Probation Administration Region 7, si Director Rosana V. Solite. Bumati po muna tayo ma'am sa ating pong mga tagapakinig at taga-subaybay.
Yes, good afternoon to all your viewers and to all your listeners in this Usapang Pangkapayapaan at Usapang Pangkaunlaran. Thank you for having me here today.
Yes ma'am, good afternoon ma'am. Ma'am, para po sa kaunang katanungan, ma'am, pwede niyo po ba ma-share sa amin kung ano po yung mission, functions, and mandate po ng DOJ, Parole and Probation Administration ng Region 7?
Okay, thank you, Lieutenant Edubert. Although I am preparing a PowerPoint presentation, but it is appropriate na we can do this through an interview platform na lang kasi hindi angkop ang PowerPoint because some of your viewers are listening to this radio broadcast. Am I correct? Am I correct na radio broadcast ito, Lieutenant Edubert?
Yes ma'am. Yes ma'am.
So, first, I am happy that you have included me or the DOJ, Department of Justice, Parole and Probation Administration, as your guest for today in your Usapang Pangkapayapaan at Usapang Pangkaunlaran. Because actually, ang Parole and Probation Administration ay hindi masyadong kilala ng ating mga citizens. Kaya sometimes kami dito sa Parole and Probation Administration, yung acronym namin is PPA, they mistakenly, they think that we are the Philippine Ports Authority. With that, we put the abbreviation or the acronym before PPA. It's Department of Justice, Parole and Probation Administration, because we are a bureau under the Department of Justice. And our mandate is to redeem offenders who would like to avail, redeem convicted offenders who would like to avail the parole and probation system of our country, of the Philippines. So, ang Parole and Probation Administration ay mandated to conserve and redeem convicted offenders and prisoners who would like to avail of the parole and probation system in our country. That is our mandate. Because our mission is to rehabilitate and reintegrate these offenders into the mainstream of society. Because the ultimate goal, like what you have, is for the promotion of peace and nation building. So we want to reform these individuals na naka-violate ng mga certain laws. And then if they want to avail of the probation system, we provide rehabilitation intervention so that they become law-abiding and they become productive and they become part and active members of society towards nation building and the promotion of peace in our communities. Because if you are an offender, we call them as those who seek a second chance. That is what we call for them, yung gustong mabigyan ng second chance. And that is the mandate of our Parole and Probation Administration.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that, ma'am. No? Partner, may additional question po kayo kay ma'am?
Yes, partner. Ma'am, thank you po ma'am sa pag-discuss po sa amin ma'am ng mandate po ng Department of Justice, Parole and Probation Administration Region 7 po ma'am, para mas lalo pong maging familiar po yung mga listeners po natin ma'am. And ma'am,
Yes.
para naman po ma'am sa aking question po ma'am, ano po yung mga latest programs, activities, projects ng DOJ po ma'am? Thank you po.
The Parole and Probation Administration, because we are towards reintegration and rehabilitation, we have programs targeted for our clients. We call them our clients, the probationers, the parolees, and the pardonees. Meron na kaming mga programa for them. There are 3 main programs that we also call our activities. These are our major and regular activities. We call it as the therapeutic community. It is a self-learning modality wherein we inculcate values of right living sa aming mga kliyente. Another program is restorative justice. Perhaps you have also heard about restorative justice, and we call it RJ for short. Restorative justice is a kind of a principle or a mindset or an approach to crime wherein our ultimate goal is to restore the relationship. Restore the relationship between the offender and the victim, because we believe that crime is not only a violation of laws, but it is also the breaking of relationships among individuals, among citizens in the community. So in restorative justice, and there are processes to do this, we tried our best to restore relationships so that the offender is remorseful and would accept or be made accountable of the crime. And we also listen to the victim. That is the process of restorative justice. So the first one is therapeutic community, wherein we teach our clients the right way to live and the right attitude and behavior. The second is restorative justice, wherein the offender and the victim would talk so that relationships will be restored. And the third is voluntarism. Voluntarism is the strategy of the Parole and Probation Administration in order to generate participation coming from the community. Community participation. How do we do that? We recruit responsible members in a community, in a certain community, to become a volunteer probation assistant, a VPA, that is in line with our voluntarism program. And once they become a VPA and they're interested to become one, they supervise our clients. They give counseling or they give advice. They monitor our clients, our probationers and parolees. In that way, may community participation, and secondly, na-reduce ang workload ng aming mga probation and parole officers because there is community involvement. We get volunteers coming from the community who supervise and monitor our clients. So we have the therapeutic community, restorative justice, and volunteerism. These are the major activities of the Parole and Probation Administration. But we also have other activities like jail decongestion. This jail decongestion activity is also important towards the attainment of humanizing our prison system. We already know that our prison and jails are very much congested, up to 300%. So kami, ang mga probation and parole officers, are helping the public attorney's office to decongest our jails by interviewing our clients, and we will determine whether they are eligible to avail of parole or probation, and in that way we can reduce the population of our jails and prison. Another activity is here in Cebu, particularly, we are active in the justice zone, the Go Just, wherein all stakeholders in the criminal justice system, judiciary, the prosecutor, the PNP, the BJMP, and the public attorney's office take part in a dialogue and conversation so that they can coordinate, we can coordinate with one another for the attainment of social justice. So we are active on the justice zone. Aside from that, ang regular na program din, ang activity sa aming opisina is the engagement of our clients na for environmental consciousness efforts. So we engage in tree planting. I-involve namin ang mga clients. Coastal cleanup. Aside from that, they also take part in Brigada Eskwela, the one sponsored by the Department of Education. But I think parang nawala na si Brigada Eskwela. Another is we collaborate with private rehab centers. We offer services also. We conduct theses, and these private rehabilitation centers provide us drug kits because, you know, our clients now, 80% of them are drug offenders. Drug offenses ang trending na mga offenses ngayon nga marami ang nag-probation. And we also participate in Peace and Order Council as well as the drug abuse councils in municipalities and cities. And we are also member in the Monitoring, Screening, Evaluation Committee sa mga jails wherein i-compute ang good conduct time allowance, and the committee will determine whether this inmate or PDL, this person deprived of liberty, can avail of the reduction of their prison sentence so that maka-avail sila ng parole or makalabas sila. So these are just some of the activities that we are engaged in the Parole and Probation Administration.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. No, yung tumatak sa akin dito, ma'am, yung sa jail decongestion.
Jail
No?
decongestion.
Maganda talaga itong programa na to, ma'am, kasi tama po kayo, no? Yung sa mga, yun nga, sa mga jail natin, talagang masyado na marami mga kababayan natin na nandun, and hindi na, yung transmission ng mga sakit, ma'am, di ba? Parang,
yes, naging normal na yan.
Yes, kasi talagang congested na sila, and dito sa program na ito, at least yun nga, if ma-interview natin sila and nakikita naman natin sa kanila na talagang may pagbabago sa kanila, no, then pwede natin silang bigyan ng chance at bigyan ng yun nga, ng parole or malesing yung kanilang imprisonment. Anyway, ma'am, for my next question, ano po ang probation in criminal law?
Probation is ang legal framework namin in probation was the Presidential Decree number 968 in 1976 that was approved in July 1976. That is why we are celebrating the 47th anniversary of probation law this month of July, particularly on July 24, adult probation law. In the history of probation all over the world, way back before 1976, our officials, Philippine officials, when they participated in a World Congress about criminal law, criminal justice system, they discovered that it is only the Philippines that did not have a probation system. Naiwan tayo. So that is why they pursued the approval, the passage of probation law. So it started in 1976, but it is amended in 2015. So it becomes PD 968 as amended by Republic Act 10707. So ang context dito in our criminal system, criminal justice system, is that once you avail, you are a first-time offender, and then your sentence, prison sentence, is not more than 6 years, you can avail of probation. You can avail of probation. This is the context. So we give second chance to those first-time offenders. First time lang. That is the probation law. First-time offenders lang siya. So if you commit a crime, let's say reckless driving, no? Or let's say reckless imprudence. So ang sentensya is only 2 years. If you are a first-time offender, you can apply for probation. Where will you apply? You can apply that with the courts sa inyong jurisdiction. So if it happens in Cebu City, it will be in Cebu City. So you apply probation. Saan ka mag-apply? Sa korte. So sino ang mag-decide whether you are qualified or not, or whether you are eligible or not? The court. It will be the court. So what is the role of the Parole and Probation Administration? What is the role of the probation and parole officers if the decision comes from the court? Now, the probation and parole officer will interview, will assess whether this person who is an applicant for probation is qualified and fit to avail of the probation system. And how do we do that? We interview people in the community. We assess his economic situation, mental, social, and emotional situation, as well as family support. We assess them, and then we recommend it to the court. Our role is only for recommendation. Our role is only to recommend. The final decision comes from the court. So that is the context of probation law. Meaning, if you're a first-time offender, and then you are a penitent offender, may remorse ka, then you can avail of probation law that started in 1976 and amended in 2015. So that is the context of the probation law under our criminal justice system. And probation is one of the pillars in our Philippine criminal justice system. We belong to the institutionalized correction system. We are two, the jails, the prisons, and the probation system. What's the difference? Prisons and jails, institutionalized, nakakulong. But probation, hindi nakakulong, labas sa kulungan. That is why our clients are now in their families, with their families, and in the community.
Partner, wait lang ha. Tanong ko lang, ma'am, if kunyari nag-decide ang court na yun nga no na mapakawalan siya dun sa kasalanan na nagawa niya, yung mga first-time offender, at least ba ma'am may may penalty para hindi na nila gawin ulit yon? Penalty in in the amount of, let's say,
Fine.
opo,
Kung amount, that is the fine. Yes, may fine din. Depende yan sa court. Ang
Okay.
court magbigay ng penalties, either imprisonment or fine. Meron ding imprisonment and fine. So dalawa. Meron ding imprisonment lang. Meron ding fine lang. Meron ding imprisonment and fine. Now ngayon, If first-time offender ka, tapos ang penalty lang is 2 years and a fine of, let's say, 2,000 pesos, a fine of 600 pesos, qualified ka mag-apply ng probation. Why? Kaya ang sentensya mo is not more than 6 years at ang fine mo is not more than 1,000. Disqualification ang more than 6 years na sentensya at ang more than 1,000 pesos na fine. So may penalty yun, may penalty. So instead of going to prison, labas sila. But there are conditions when you are a probationer. It does not mean that you are free. Free in the sense because hindi ka nakakulong. But there are certain conditions that you have to follow because we, the Probation and Parole and Probation Administration, or the Probation Office, will monitor your activities. And you have to report to our office at least once a month. So yun, may penalty siya pa rin.
Yes, ma'am. Importante talaga yung may ganun, ma'am, na at least okay kung mapakawalan ka, at least may fine pa rin. At least lesson learned pa rin yun na hindi ka
Yeah.
hindi ka na uulit the next time kasi
Yes.
mahirap naman na mas ma-extend na yung ma'am, pagka naulit-ulit kapag ka second time na, third time, syempre iba na yon. Kasi kumbaga ka na
Yes,
sunod-sunod,
you are right. Mm-mm.
walang hindi natututo ba? At least kung may maaprubahan yung probation, at least may fine ka pa rin. So hindi ka pa rin na excuse din sa nagawa.
It doesn't mean na totally wala ka ng responsibility.
Yes.
Meron pa rin. Because the mere fact na mag-report ka sa probation office, that is one. The mere fact that you have to undergo the rehabilitation activities, the one that I mentioned, the therapeutic community, the restorative justice, those are conditions of your probation. That you have to abide by the rules, abide by the conditions of the probation, and maintain good behavior in the community.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, we have a short break po muna, ma'am, no? Alas sa gamay ng mga pahinumdum.
Okay.
Okay, balik na sa atong topic. Alam pa, hubang mga important announcement nagikan sa DOJ PPA 7. Partner? Yasi?
Yes. Yes, partner. And ma'am, ano naman po yung pangunahing dahilan kung bakit may provision supervision po?
Thank you, Yasmin. We have to supervise probationers. That is what we call probation supervision because they are out from jail and prison. Labas sila. Wala sila nakulong. Wala sila na priso. So that is why mo supervise ang probation and parole officer sa mga kliyente, sa ating mga probationers. Why? Because we want to see to it that hindi na reoffending, yung mag-violate na naman ng certain laws ng ating society. So we want them to conduct and maintain themselves or conduct themselves well in the community. So we need to supervise them because we are saving this valuable, we call them as valuable human material. Saving them because if a person is incarcerated, napunta sa prisuhan, na priso siya, you can just perhaps realize among yourself now, because you have not experienced this, but if a person is in prison, that is one of the scariest and degrading experience that a person can have. Kung siya ay first-time offender lang, not a hardcore offender or criminal, masave pa natin siya. Because there are studies that show that if a person is detained or is put in prison, those who are not inclined to become hardcore offenders would become a hardcore offender. So we are saving them. So nilabas natin sa prisuhan, hindi natin ipapriso. So kailangan i-supervise sa aming mga probation and parole officers so that they will comply sa conditions ng probation at saka hindi na sila, they won't reoffend. They won't commit another crime. Dahil probation is only once in a lifetime. It's only once in a lifetime. Once you availed of probation, hindi ka na pwede mag-probation ulit. It's only once in a lifetime in Philippine laws. So, ngayon, if you are convicted of reckless imprudence, sa pag-drive mo, naka-harm ka a certain person, hindi more than 6 years ang sentensya, you can avail of probation. But the next time na mag-reckless imprudence ka na naman, or sa mga lalaki, let's say, sex offenders, mga sex offenses, naka-commit ka naman ng violation ng mga laws considered as sex crimes, and then tapos ka na nag-probation sa reckless imprudence, tapos na-convicted ka sa acts of lasciviousness, hindi ka na pwede mag-avail ng probation. So you have to be put in jail. So kailangan ang supervision. Because we want to monitor their activities, we give them the proper advice, we give them the proper intervention so that malayo sila sa offending and re-offending. So that is the importance of probation supervision.
Ma'am, tanong ko lang ma'am, very effective ba itong pagkakaroon ng probation na supervision? Let's say sabi niyo nga para hindi na mag-re-offend, no? Hindi na siya ulit gumawa ng kung ano mga offend, no? Na
Krimen.
sa ating law. So, very effective po ba ito, ma'am, na itong practice na ito, itong probation supervision? Talaga bang hindi na siya nakakaulit, hindi na re-offend yung tao?
Oh, yes, our data shows that our revocation rate, we call it revocation rate. This is the number or the percentage of clients or probationers and parolees whose probation and parole are revoked. Balik sila sa prisuhan. Yan ang tinatawag na revocation rate. Hindi nakatapos sa period sa probation, hindi nakatapos sa parole supervision dahil nag-commit na naman ng another crime. So from our data, it shows that we have less than 1% revocation rate. So because of that, we can say that in some sense, no, naging effective ang monitoring sa mga probation and parole officers, monitoring and intervention, and the conduct of rehabilitation activities, naging effective because our revocation rate is low. Our revocation rate is low. So that is one proof, evidence-based, that indeed, somehow, our probation intervention and probation supervision has become effective because of the low revocation rate.
Yes, ma'am. Mabuti naman kung ganun, ma'am, no? Ma'am, can you please enlighten us about the difference between probation, imprisonment, and parole?
So ano ang difference ng probation sa parole? So there are many who got confused about probation and parole. So when a person is under probation, some people will say, nakaparole. Nakaparole. Parang mas popular si parole. And because of the social stigma of people coming from prison, sabihin nila, huwag kang mag-ganon kasi parolado yan. Bagsik yan dahil parolado yan, galing sa munti yan. So that is the social stigma that until now our clients are within them, no, na are carrying with them. So ang difference, ang probation, we call a person probationer because he availed of the privilege of probation. Para lang ito sa first time offender at saka nagdesisyon ang korte na siya ay mag-probation dahil hindi sobra sa 6 years ang kanyang sentensya. Tapos, ini-investigate ng probation and parole officer sa kanilang community na ito, si Mr. Thomas, for example, pwede mag-probation. Mag-recommend kami sa kanya, judge, na mag-undergo or mag-avail sa benefits sa probation dahil may family support siya, hindi siya engaged sa alcohol, maganda ang kanyang pamilya, may trabaho siya, at willing siya magreforma under the probation system, at saka not more than 6 years ang kanyang sentensya at first time offender. First time pa niya na nakasuhan at first time siya na sentensyahan. So hindi siya mapriso, we call him probationer. So he is enjoying the privilege of probation. Ang parole naman is iba. Ang parole ay binibigay sa isang tao, given to a prisoner, person deprived of liberty, who is sentenced to more than 6 years. Dahil ang sistema ng pagbigay ng sentensya sa ating mga offenders is, kung malaki ang kanyang pagkasala, si court magsabi, you are now sentenced to imprisonment from 6 years to 10 years, for example. Attempted homicide. For example lang, 6 years to 10 years. So perhaps you will ask, bakit ganoon? May 6 years to 10 years. We call it as indeterminate sentence. Indeterminate penalty. May minimum, may maximum. That is indeterminate. So ikaw nakasala, mapriso ka from 6 years to 10 years. Now ngayon, you are now in prison. You are now a person deprived of liberty. Prisoner ka na. Pag nakaserve ka na ng 6 years, dahil yan ang minimum, di ba? 6 to 10 years, 10 years ang maximum. Pag nakaserve ka na ng 6 years, tapos may good conduct time allowance deduction pa, and then you are maintaining a good behavior in prison or in jail or in prison, then you can apply for parole. After that, ibigay sa amin ng investigation, we go to the community, we ask your neighbors whether acceptable ka ba dahil naka-serve ka na sa minimum mo, and if the family and the community is supportive, we submit a report, and then ang Board of Pardons and Parole will decide, okay, ito si Tomas at pwede nang mag-avail sa parole. Pero si Tomas was in jail for 6 years or in prison for 6 years. Whereas, yung probation, wala talaga siya. Hindi siya napriso. Ito si Paroli. Parolado na siya dahil he has served his minimum sentence, let's say 6 years or 7 years, and then gi-allow ng Board of Pardons and Parole, gi-grant ang kanyang application for parole. He doesn't have to serve his 10-year sentence. Pwede siya makalabas. So, ang tawag natin sa kanya is parolado, paroli. So that is the difference between probation and parole. First-time offender si probation, si parole, even if first-time offender siya, but there are times na hindi siya first-time offender and there are times na first-time offender siya, but ang sentensya niya is malaki. More than 6 years. So kailangan mag-serve siya in prison. Pero pagdating sa minimum, pwede siya mag-apply ng parole. So that's the difference between probation and parole. In a
Ma'am,
nutshell.
yes, ma'am. Ma'am, tanong ko, no, yung mga taong napaparusahan ng reklusyon perpetua, ma'am, may pagkakataon po ba na pwede silang makapag-apply ng parole din?
Meron. There are types pero there are situations na pwede sila mag-apply ng parole kahit reclusion perpetua. But if there are objections to the community, malimit lang, very few. Kasi if reclusion, di ba, the crime is too heavy, too hard. So that is why it's difficult. But they can avail of absolute pardon, conditional pardon. Meron din tayong mga binibigay na ganyan na mga privileges. But the difference is, ang presidente ang magbigay ng absolute pardon. So, mas mahirap i-avail yan. And very few lang. It's very few and far between. Yun lang parole and probation. Ang parole by the Board of Pardons and Parole, siya ang mag-grant, while probation, ang court. So, that's also the difference. The court will issue a probation order, will grant probation, while ang parole, ang Board of Pardons and Parole. So, that's one of the main differences of the two.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Partner?
Ma'am, ano-ano naman po yung mga benepisyo pag under po ng provision ng isang sentence offender, ma'am?
It will have a great benefit to the family. It will be a big benefit, and the family would be one of the beneficiaries when a person can avail of probation. Why? Because hindi sila ma-separate from one another, from each other. Hindi man siya nakakulong, so he still can support his family. He still can be a good father. He can still perform his duties as a family man or a mother or a sister. Another benefit that we see in probation is it saves government resources. Instead of putting these people in jail, and then we provide budget for their meals, diba? Sa mga preso, ang government is spending much for their meals, for their food. So kung labas siya, the government is spared of this responsibility, from this responsibility. Dahil he is in the community, he can work. So that is also the third benefit. The person who avails of probation can work, can be productive, can be economically productive instead of putting him in jail. So these are the benefits of probation, and also to spare ang reputation mo at saka ang shame of a person who is detained in prison. Mas spare ka if you avail of probation. So these are the benefits of probation, and we save a valuable material. So instead of incarcerating him, putting him in jail, na perhaps ma-influence siya doon because there are hardened criminals in jail or in prison, mas spare siya. Punta siya sa kanyang family and become a normal person. So that is also social justice because he's willing to be reformed. He's willing to avail of the benefits of probation or probation law. So since he is remorseful, so he is out of jail, and then he can lead or live a normal and productive life. These are the benefits of probation.
Yes, ma'am. And ma'am, ano-ano po kaya ang mga programs, projects, and activities ng Department of Justice, Parole and Probation Administration Region 7 na pwedeng makipag-collaborate or makipagtulungan ang Philippine Air Force sa pag-implement po nito?
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. Yeah. Until now, hindi ko pa nakita kung saan magposisyon si Philippine Air Force. In fact, I'm also glad that we see now eye to eye, and then you see the situation of the office. So one thing that our clients need is employment. So employment, if the Philippine Air Force can hire our probationers, our clients for a certain employment, that is a very big help, because in our data it shows that livelihood opportunities should be one of the major goals that we want to achieve, so that ang mga probationers at parolees natin will be productive, and then malayo sila for reoffending. So, for example, kayo sa Philippine Air Force, you need people who can clean your premises. Mga simple skills lang. We have also clients, probationers who are good at computers. Kung maka-hire ka mo sa kanila na mga short-term lang na mga trabaho. Because our clients are also good at that. There are clients who can do that. But basically, ang mga clients namin more on manual labor. You know, they are farmers, and they are also carpenters. And there are also clients who can do some jobs like technical jobs. So employment is number one. We can also collaborate with our activities. So for example, kailangan kayo ng mga kasama for coastal cleanup, meron kayong mga environmental activities, we can tie up together so that we can support you. Pero forgive me if I mention this, but we were able to be exposed. We have the chance to be exposed in Japan. And it shows na different pala ang need natin dito sa Pilipinas. Dahil doon sa Japan is stable na ang mga tao. So livelihood talaga. And you know, ang livelihood activity ng aming mga clients will be very much welcome. So if you can hire some of our clients in your agency, much better, so that ang social stigma naman nila that they are criminals will be also reduced, ang social stigma, because they find themselves na acceptable sila sa community. So ano naman ang mga services ng Philippine Air Force or mga activities, so that perhaps I can see and find out saan kami pwede lulugar. So what activities of the Philippine Air Force? What activities do you have, so that we can have a mutual agreement or understanding? We can work together and improve the lives of these individuals who are probationers and parolees. Hindi naman pwede sila magpiloto sa mga aircraft nyo dahil wala silang training. So yung mga menial activities nyo lang. So employment, we would really welcome that. And we can work together in some of your activities where you can also tap our clients to do such work or tasks. And also, we have activities in our agency or administration, like the conduct of rehabilitation programs na parang classroom ito. And then we teach values, we teach skills. If you have facilities like that, and then you allow us to use it, that would be a great help to us. That would be a great help to us.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yun nga yung nabanggit niyo, ma'am, ng mga CMO activities like coastal cleanup, tree planting, brigada, eskwela. Very much welcome, no, Sir Bugs? Tama po ba?
Yes, ma'am. During mga CMO activities, ma'am, baka pwede namin kayo makolaborate doon, no?
Yes, and we are looking forward to that.
Yes,
It's a
ma'am.
very good image that we can project, that the Philippine Air Force and the Parole and in collaboration with the Parole and Probation Administration, is conducting this activity. And then we are also helping them become acceptable members of the community, these individuals, our clients.
Yes, ma'am, no, to gain the trust, no, again.
Yes.
Tama. Yes, ma'am.
Wala.
And mga kasama, dumako naman po tayo sa mga iba pa nating participants, no, sa Zoom. Baka may mga katanungan din sila para kay Ma'am Rosana. Start tayo sa from 505. First Lieutenant Chu. Sir, may katanungan po ba kayo para kay Ma'am Rosana?
Ma'am, good afternoon po. First Lieutenant Chu ng 505th. Ma'am, so far,
Hi.
ma'am, sa ngayon, ma'am, wala po pong katanungan. But marami, ma'am, realizations, marami akong natutunan for the past few minutes, ma'am. Kasi yun nga, tama yung nasabi niyo, ma'am, maraming misconceptions. Minsan nagpapalit-palit yung mga terms. And moving forward, sa future, ma'am, mag-hope lang kami, ma'am, na makita namin or ma-try namin yung collaborations para
Yes.
sabi natin
I'm looking
matulungan
forward
yung...
to that.
Yes, ma'am. Para matulungan din kami, ma'am, while nakatulong kami sa ating mga sa inyong administration, ma'am.
Yes, and it's about time also that we change our mindset. We change our perception towards offenders. Na we don't condemn them. We accept them as individuals, as persons with dignity, so that we are helping them to become a reformed individual. Kaya the more we condemn them na, parolado yan, huwag yan, ayaw anak, parolado na, astig na. The more we condemn them, the more they become distant from the community, and there is apathy. Wala na sila, and they are indifferent. But if we embrace them and accept them as individuals with dignity, nakakatulong tayo sa kanila so that hindi na sila mag-re-offend. And the result, of course, is the promotion of peace in our communities. Stable ang ating situation when it comes to peace, and they become part of nation building, active and productive members of our community. So I am appealing that to you now. You can help us in that way.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. From 505 pa rin, Master Sergeant Cruz. First, may katanungan po kayo?
Ma'am, thank you. But hindi naman na kailangan yung naipaliwanag naman na maigi. Thank you.
Thank you for that too.
Yes, first, thank you. And Master Sergeant Kiambao, first. So, I think, partners, okay, no? Very, clear yung pag-explain sa atin ni Ma'am, no, about sa mga kanilang mga programs, projects, activities, and yung mga terms, at least na-enlighten na lahat tayo, no? Na may pagkakaiba yon, may mga difference.
Huwag ng Philippine Ports Authority, ha?
Yes, Ma'am, lalo na yun, yung mismong agency talaga.
Parole and Probation Administration.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Partner?
Yasi. Nakamute ka, Yas?
Yes. Yes.
Sirs, ma'am, bago po tayo magtapos sa ating programa, atin pong pakinggan at hingian ng parting statement si Director Rosana V. Solite. Ma'am, baka meron po kayong additional messages po, ma'am, or announcement po.
Okay, so again, I thank and appreciate this invitation coming from the Philippine Air Force. Because actually, Philippine Air Force is not one of our consistent and regular partners when it comes to community corrections. We call ourselves as correction officers. Community corrections because our clients are now in the community, not in prison or in jail. So that is why I am very appreciative for this invitation, because this is the first time that we partner together, the Philippine Air Force, in spreading information regarding the mandate the mission, the programs and activities of the Parole and Probation Administration. With that, I look forward to another collaboration with you. I look forward to another partnership where in that time, it will be a partnership that involves our clients, the probationers, the parolees, and the pardonees of Region 7. In that way, we can help them become people, or we can help them become individuals with dignity and individuals who are really decisive, who are really committed to become crime-free, and they contribute to nation building, prevention of crime, and the promotion of peace in our communities. Thank you.
Again, Ma'am Rosana, thank you so much for that comprehensive information you shared with us. Saludo po kami, Ma'am, sa lahat ng mga ginagawa ng Department of Justice, Parole and Probation Administration, Region 7, dito sa ating area of responsibility. Hanggang sa muli po, Ma'am, thank you so much. And with that,
Ma'am, mga kaibigan, sa ngalan po ng aming Commanding General, Philippine Air Force, Lieutenant General Stephen T. Pareño, Philippine Air Force.
At sa ngalan din po ng aming Commander, Air Mobility Command, Major General Joannis Leonardi Vidimano, Philippine Air Force.
at sa ngalan din po ng aming Wing Commander, Tactical Operations Wing Central, Brigadier General Ramil V. Oloroso, Philippine Air Force.
Opo si First Lieutenant Edward B. Baguio, Philippine Air Force, the Director for Civil Military Operations of Tactical Operations Wing Central.
Ako naman po si Staff Sergeant Ann Francis M. Tompong, Philippine Air Force.
At ako naman po si AW2C Yasmin Saladar, Philippine Air Force.
Maraming salamat po sa inyong suporta at pagsubaybay. God bless. Mabuhay po tayong lahat and keep safe everyone.